So let me remind you of what happened behind closed doors.
Well, you should ask O'Connor about my credibility.
I haven't asked you a question. Okay?
You are?
When I haven't. So when I ask you a question, that's when you answer. Otherwise, I'm talking. So.
Excuse me?
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
history.
regain
That's
order
beneath
of your
you.
committee?
All right, folks, buckle up, because what's unfolding in Texas could send shockwaves all the way to Capitol Hill. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just found herself in the political hot seat. Why? Republicans have redrawn the congressional map, and her district didn't survive the cut. That's right, her seat is being carved out of existence in a high-stakes game of political chess.
Debating about whether or not I would run where they put me, which is where I live. Yeah.
In 33.
In 33.
Congresswoman Crockett has served in the 30th congressional seat since January 2023, and her district is mostly in Dallas County, but also has some in Tarrant County. While the boundaries of her district would change, it's still considered a Democratic majority seat and will have a majority of African.
Now, you might be asking, why does this matter? Because redistricting isn't just paperwork, it's power. Every new line on that map can tilt the balance in Congress, reshaping not only Texas politics but national policy. This isn't a shuffle of boundaries, it's a political earthquake, and Jasmine Crockett, she's not taking it lying down. She's ready for a fight.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's a
Hold on.
part of
I'm trying to find clarification on what quality.
Chairman, motion to strike
I
those
had no idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
You just voted to do
Y'all did
it.
it first, so you don't want to talk about it.
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at calm down. Calm down.
No, because this
I
is
would
what
like to
y'all
get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying to get.
Crockett isn't mincing words, she's calling out the GOP directly, framing this as more than redistricting, but outright political sabotage. The tension is thick, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This fight isn't just about lines on a map, it's about survival. Now the question looms, does she dig in and battle for her home turf, or pivot to a new district and start over? For now, she says she's turning to her constituents and fellow Democrats in Congress, ready to strategize on how to navigate the storm.
Does he fit better into 30 now because it does have some Tarrant or not? And does Julie just kind of fit better at running in 33 than me? And is my district going to be okay with me running and being on this fixed government income and therefore not buying a home in the newly constructed 30? Obviously, I don't have to live there under federal rules.
Right.
But I mean, some people want somebody that lives in the district. And then obviously I want to talk to my colleagues and say what kind of makes sense so that at least hopefully two of us have the best shot.
You're not going to want to miss how this story unfolds. So, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Your support keeps this channel going and lets me bring you breaking stories just like this. Stick around, because every twist and turn in political sagas like Jasmine Crockett's will be right here for you. So, where does Jasmine Crockett go from here? Her career is at a real turning point, and the clock is ticking, with Republicans redrawing the map and effectively erasing her District 30 seat. She's been forced into a high-stakes decision, and
Mr. Chair, before I begin my questioning, I want to remind everyone that the information recorded in the FBI Form 1023 that my Republican colleagues keep citing is not evidence of anything. This form reflects years-old, secondhand, unverified information from a Ukrainian oligarch as relayed to the FBI by a confidential human source. These unverified secondhand allegations have been repeatedly debunked and undermined, including by the confidential human source who relayed this information to the FBI. The tip recorded in the Form 1023 was thoroughly explored by the U.S. attorney handpicked by Donald Trump, which was Attorney General William Barr, and the assessment was closed. Finally, Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner who worked with the Ukrainian oligarch in question, told this committee in a transcribed interview in July that he had no knowledge of any such payments allegedly described in this form. Repeating the same lies will not somehow turn them into truths. Kind of like the election that Trump lost. Say it with me. He lost it. repeating the same lie that he won wasn't going to turn the election around. The lost in this chamber keep pushing lies and lunacy on behalf of a multi-time loser. So if we're gonna talk about China, let's go ahead and talk about China, and let's talk about the dealings. And let me point out the fact that right now each of you has admitted that none of you are fact witnesses. We walked in without facts, and unfortunately, because what we say isn't necessarily evidence, we have wasted the American people's time, and we are gonna walk out of this chamber and we still have no facts that are leading to anything. But let me give y'all a little bit of tea while we're here. So I have a document that I will ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record. It's a fact sheet on President Trump's shady business dealings with the Chinese government.
Without the ground suddenly shifting under your feet, right? So, imagine waking up one day and realizing the very district that sent you to Congress might no longer exist. That's the reality Jasmine Crockett is facing right now. It's not just about policy anymore, it's about survival, strategy, and whether she can outmaneuver a political play designed to take her out of the game. Mil ciento ons. Millones. Ciento ons. Mil ciento ons. So, it's no surprise that Crockett is scrambling for a plan B the moment the new maps dropped. She cried, foul accusing Republicans of gerrymandering, with one clear goal: to weaken minority representation. In her eyes, this isn't just politics as usual, it's an old tactic in a fresh disguise, designed to strip power from the very communities she's sworn to fight for. And while you don't have to agree with her claims, one thing is undeniable: redistricting always creates winners and losers. This time, Crockett is staring down the losing end, but instead of taking the hit quietly, she's setting her sights on District 33. That's right, she's weighing a jump to an entirely new district. The problem, it's not a guaranteed win. Sure, it leans Democratic, but stepping into fresh territory means facing new challengers, and there's no guarantee her old base will follow her. And here's where the real storm brews. By floating the idea of switching districts, Crockett has opened herself to a flood of criticism. Even some of her allies are whispering, is she really fighting for her people, or just fighting to keep her seat? Too many, it looks less like courage and more like self-preservation. Her critics aren't pulling punches. They accuse her of chasing headlines instead of legislation, of picking the path of least resistance instead of standing her ground. To them, this isn't leadership, it's political survival, dressed up as principle.
So much Texas on top of Texas. Very interesting. My colleague just mentioned that we should talk about facts instead of fallacy. So I do want to make sure that we address a couple of facts, starting with the fact that Republicans claim to be pro-life, but they're anything but. Considering the fact that we just had a woman and her 2 children that died, they drowned in the state of Texas because our governor decided that federal authorities should not be allowed to actually try to save those people.
Order, Mr. Chairman, could you instruct the member to not use profanity to interrupt other members?
And can we not keep running down my time?
We'll hold your time. You'll get it back. Remind members to have decorum during the hearing today. Ms. Crockett, you may continue. Please restore 10 seconds to her time.
The fact is, these people died at our border in Texas on Friday. We are here today having a hearing, and the pro-life party does not want to talk about the fact that there was basically state-issued or sanctioned death at the Texas border. There can be nothing more inhumane than the fact that we have not even decided that we were going to discuss this on the pro-life side. But you know what? I do want to talk about some other facts that we have. Republicans can't do the basic job that we are supposed to do. You see, in 2 days, we are scheduled to shut down. They can't figure out how to do a budget because we're 6 months behind, but somehow they are going to solve this complex issue of immigration.
Crockett is also standing her ground well, at least in her own way. She insists that weighing a move isn't about abandoning her principles, but about finding the best path to keep representing the communities she cares about. To her, it's strategy, not surrender.
And to quote a great known as Riri, also known as Rihanna, how about we give a round of applause, a standing ovation, because we have absolutely had nothing more than performative politics. In fact, my Texas colleague just finished his comments by specifically talking about the election in November and who's going.
Has been vocal, framing the redistricting as a direct attack not only on her but on her constituents. She's emphasized what she sees as the racial undertones behind the move, making it clear this is bigger than just her seat. For her, the fight is about protecting minority representation and pushing back against gerrymandering designed to serve partisan interests.
Ms. Crockett, for 1 minute, or 5 minutes.
1 minute. All right. First of all, Mr. Bobulinski, do you know who Elections LLC is? Yeah.
Well, it's not a who.
Okay. Well, do you know what it is?
Yes, it's a LLC.
Okay. And is it the LLC that your attorney works for?
I believe so, yes.
You believe so. Okay. So at this point in time, I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a document indicating that the law firm representing Tony Bobulinski was paid $10,000 as recently as January of this year by the Save America PAC, which you may recognize as Donald Trump's PAC.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now, so far in this hearing, it has felt like the worst episode of The Apprentice. I'm sure you're familiar with that show. It seems like my colleagues and maybe you and some others are trying to become the next vice president of the United States of America. You're auditioning or something like that. I want to be clear that when we were behind closed doors, you called a number of people liars. You called the Wall Street Journal liars. You called Cassidy Hutchinson a liar. You called the FBI a liar. You called Rob Walker a liar. You called James Gilliar a liar. You called Hunter Biden a liar. You called Jim Biden a liar. And just today, you added to your list, you called my colleague, Congressman Mr. Goldman, a liar as well. It seems like, according to you, the only person that's telling the truth is you and everyone else is lying. But I want to move on to something else.
Is that a question?
It's not a question.
Oh, okay.
You'll know when I ask you a question.
Whether or not you believe her accusations, one thing's for sure: Jasmine Crockett has never been shy about speaking her mind. Her candid, and at times explosive, comments have only amplified the drama surrounding her situation. But beyond the headlines, she's facing a tougher challenge: the ground game. If she does decide to run in a new district, she'll have to win over voters who don't know her as well, and local dynamics. They can be a completely different ballgame. What connects in one community might fall flat in another. That means Crockett will need to listen closely, meet with voters, understand their priorities, and prove she's the right person for the job. And that's no small task, especially with the shadow of gerrymandering accusations hanging over her every move.
In a record from who?
This is from the Congressional Integrity
Project, the Dark Money PAC?
I object.
I object to that too.
Of course y'all gonna object, but we gonna talk about it. So, it says Trump has extensive financial ties to the Chinese government. President Trump collected millions from Chinese government-owned entities while in office. I have the best tenants in the world, President Trump was well aware of the multi-million-dollar lease to Chinese interests. President Trump promised to donate foreign government profits while in office, but he donated less than a third of his proceeds from the Chinese government. President Trump maintained 3 foreign bank accounts while in office, including one in China. President Trump's business with China raised legal and ethical concerns. President Xi loves the people of China. He loves his country, and he's doing a very good job. Let me tell you something. I don't want to talk about what y'all want to act like is some big mystery, because we keep sitting here and Professor Gerhardt, just to be clear, as my colleagues have even tried to provide evidence, which they're not the ones to provide evidence, have you ever heard them say "if" since we've been sitting here for I don't know how long?
Yes, I've been taking a tally.
Oh, okay. Can you show us? Can you tell us what the tally is?
More than 35 times, the Republican witnesses and Republican members of the committee have used the word "if."
Thank you so much for that. Because honestly, if they would continue to say "if" or "Hunter" and we were playing a drinking game, I would be.
Democrats are watching closely, silently taking notes. How Crockett navigates this storm could set the tone for other representatives boxed in by new GOP drawn maps. The question is, will her response inspire new strategies for surviving redistricting? or serve as a cautionary tale of what not to? Do Crockett's balancing act between media and politics may end up as a test case? And make no mistake, people are paying attention. Not just voters back in Texas, but national grassroots organizers, advocacy groups focused on gerrymandering, and minority rights organizations are all watching how this plays out. Her fight for political survival is gaining major traction on social media thanks in part to her knack for whipping up headlines. That kind of visibility is a skill, but it's also risky. Public sentiment is a double-edged sword. It can elevate you when it's on your side, but it can cut deep when it turns against you.
Woman has opposition and has an offer to define actively assisting, then that would be great. But the reality is that what's going to happen is what we've seen happen in the state of Texas, where we have a governor who has murders on his hand as far as I'm concerned, because we've had active deaths at the hands of mishandling this. If this is going to be a federal issue, then the federal government needs to be the ones that are absolutely going to be over federal law.
It's so weird because my colleagues on the other side of the aisle wanted to call this hearing, this is not our first, it's not our second. I've actually lost count myself of how many IRS hearings we're having, and they seemingly feel like they can fix your very complicated issues. But somehow they aren't good at simple math that would get them to a speaker, right. So we've been 3 weeks without one. Mr. Bobulinski, I know that you take exception to the fact that your credibility has been called into question over and over, but when someone comes to testify under oath, whether it's before this committee, behind closed doors, or in person, then we have to evaluate someone's credibility. And sir, I definitely have always had issues with your credibility, as I know that you are very well aware of. So let me remind you of what happened behind closed doors.
You should ask Ro Khanna about my credibility.
I haven't asked you a question. Okay?
You are?
When I haven't. So when I ask you a question, that's when you answer. Otherwise, I'm talking.
The journey ahead is heavy. The same fire that propelled Jasmine Crockett onto the national stage could also consume her if she can't navigate these tricky political waters. Ever wonder what it's like to walk a tightrope balancing public optics with the grind of real political work? That's Crockett's reality right now. On top of that, she's facing a growing reputation that can be deadly for a politician, being all show, no substance. Her fiery speeches may energize loyal supporters, but to critics, they're just sound bites, flashes of heat that distract from the bigger accusations. Her defiance against Republican redistricting plays well to her base. But will it resonate in a new district, under sharper scrutiny, where she needs to win over fresh voters? So, what's next for Jasmine Crockett? She's already consulting with colleagues, constituents, and power players in the Democratic Party to map out her options. That could mean launching an aggressive campaign in a neighboring district or waging a legal battle against the new map itself. Either way, one thing is certain: a fight is coming. How she handles this chapter will reveal whether she has the political grit to back up her fiery words. If Crockett takes on the GOP maps or reshapes her campaign, she'll have to do it carefully without alienating the very communities she claims to represent. Her future hangs in the balance, and every move she makes now carries long-term consequences in the coming weeks. We'll find out what really lies behind her podium speeches: a deep commitment to the causes she champions, or just a politician maneuvering for survival in a narrowing corridor of options. So here's the big question for you. Do you think Jasmine Crockett's fight against GOP redistricting is truly about defending minority rights? Or is it simply a way to hold on to power? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think, and your voice could spark tea.